Well, there's a bit of a change of plan this morning. It's not really a change, but it's a confirmation, and so action is required because the only other neighbour that I have, who is himself a follower of Christ, is an Irish fellow, a little bit older than I am, and he's a very vigorous man, and he seems to lead a full and fulfilling life. And he's now suddenly his house has gone up for sale and has been sold, in fact. And this morning is the first time I've seen him, and I went to express my regret that he was leaving the neighbourhood, because he was a nice fellow, and we had some good interactions, I thought. He was a Catholic, and but he said that he believed. I don't know. He mainly criticised the church itself. He'd been disgusted with some of the capitulations, but he'd been also somewhat enlightened, shall we say, by the fact that his one of his two daughters was more same-sex oriented, and had been for years, and he had to somehow qualify his love for her with her, sexual preferences, which I suppose as a Catholic he would be inclined to frown on. And that sort of experience helps to humble a man a little bit, I think. We have to deal with those things and then understand that we've been mistaught on so much, really, and this proclivity for judging is so ingrained within us. But nonetheless, I was impressed by his decision to move to a completely different part of the country on the coast. And in so doing, I was surprised actually to hear how much money he'd made on the transactions involved. Because all I saw was him sinking a lot of money into his new house, the one where he currently lives, and having to redo this, and there was always workmen there, and I thought, well, he must be spending a fortune. But in actual fact, he was canny with money, and he'd made the house more desirable, and he was able to make a tidy profit, and then get a very good deal in his new location. So I was inspired. I said, this guy is mid-80s, I guess. I don't know, no, early 80s perhaps. Not mid-80s, no, he's probably about 81, 82. I mean, if he can do it, then I can do it. And so I will move up to the north of England, and probably Blackpool, because that's the town that seems to be uppermost in my mind for some reason. Well, there is a reason. I saw a video about it and I enjoyed it. I watched a couple of videos and I thought it looked okay. Put it that way. So he's given me some tips on how to proceed, and apparently the process can be completed quite efficiently, but it's probably going to take about a year to do the move. So I'm not going to be building a more elaborate cookout shelter here or spending any money in that area, because it will just be removed and taken down unless I build it to a very high standard, and then there will be no gain in the house value. It might make it a little bit more desirable, but it already has two outbuildings. So change of plan, and it was quite exciting, really, to think that I would face such such a prospect. Now I'm going to pause this while I make my eggs, because making eggs is delicate. And I hope I can restart, but if I can't, then have a beautiful day. Anybody who's bothered to listen to my plan. I don't know even why I'm saying it in public. It hardly makes sense. But it's quite an exciting adventure, I guess. And a bit of excitement doesn't hurt. Blessings now. So the food is now prepared and nice and toasty. It's one of the nicest things that I do these days is come along and have my breakfast here. It's just enjoyable. But I suppose the thing that I was going to add to the video is the matter that the person that's bought the house is not of my nationality. And so gradually, this little group of houses, I will be the only white man, as it were, in the neighbourhood. And this is something that troubles me a little bit. And I will go into the reasons as to why I consider myself and all natural born men and women to be racists and sexists and all those other things that we're accused of being, which are just part of our nature. And it's part of our nature to have a preference or a bias towards the members of our own tribes. It's a family thing. There's no hatred involved in it, but there's a preference that you will find really across all races, I think, when they abandon their conceits. We see it among all peoples. It's natural. Just as there's a recognition of gender, there is a general recognition. The boundaries are perhaps a little blurred, perhaps in all these questions, because there are people of mixed race and, who can fit well into different groups. I don't think it's something that we're applying with any kind of rigor. It's just a general feeling, isn't it? And I think the kind of racial diversity in Blackpool would be far less than it has become here, where we just gradually see more affordable middle class areas being Islamified because they're attractive to upcoming Asian families who are working hard and they've got themselves some coin and they want to move up in the world, and moving into an area where there are more white people is preferable because those areas tend to be more kempt and just a little bit more desirable. And just so it is. And so we see this gradual creep occurring, and the areas then are changed and the houses are changed. And they start putting 2 pillars outside the front gate and shutting off the garden so there's no side access, and so on and so forth, and concreting over, for parking and all the rest of it that goes on. You get that in all communities, architectural practices of which I am critical. But it changes the neighbourhood, of course. And so I'm happy to be a minority, but in the fullness of time, I think I will appreciate having more contact with my brothers and sisters. I value my people. I value my race. I think the white race is the greatest race on earth. And I understand that, I kind of hope that other races have very high opinions of their own value. I don't pretend that the value of our race be recognized or be any cause for usurping the power of God, but I preserve my right to state my opinion, and I think it's an opinion I can argue quite effectively as to its foundation, shall we say, not mere vanity. God bless.